Hi everyone, I'm Tim, CEO of the publisher Hooded Horse. We're so thrilled to have the chance to serve as Amplitude's publisher for Endless Legend 2. The game is amazing, and it's an honor to play a small role in this journey. I've been a huge fan of Amplitude's games since Endless Space 1, but the fantasy theme for 4X games is always something I've especially loved. Beyond the wonderful experience that is Endless Legend 1, I'd say my most played fantasy 4X game was the Fall from Heaven mod for Civ 4. Discovering that the mod's creator, Derek Paxton, was the game director for Endless Legend 2 was a wonderful surprise back when I first started talking to Max and Ramon about the game. Endless Legend 2 was just such a wonderful package of personal favorites, made by such wonderful people. We're so lucky to serve as its publisher. I'm excited for all that's to come for the game this year, and hope we are all looking forward to seeing everything the Amplitude team is working on.
And we're back, and my couch has changed. Inhabitants, hi.
Hello.
Hello, Bill.
We saw you last year when you had a small announcement for us. Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Derek Paxton. I'm the game director for Endless Legend 2. And yeah, that was a high point for me. It was so much fun to come announce Endless Legend 2 was coming with sitting down with you last year. It was a lot of fun.
And I'm Augustin de Vita, producer on Endless Legend 2. And yeah, it was amazing. The reception was so great. And
So you're the guy.
Is it Trackmania guy?
Yeah, again.
You're the guy who's fighting against Jean-Max, who wants to delay things continuously.
yeah.
Pretty much. So 2025 was quite a year for you. You'd been working on this game for a while, and it was finally revealed to the world. So how has this year been, and how was the community's reaction?
Yeah, the journey was really great. A lot of updates, a lot of feedback from the community. It was really good to get the game out there. Even if we had the insiders, it was really different to get out in the public and getting a lot of feedback of those updates every month. So it was a great journey.
Yeah, the fans have been great. We have over 1.2 million games that have been played so far of Endless Legend 2. So yeah, getting it out, and it just went into early access in September, so it hasn't been that long of a time. But yeah, getting all the feedback, getting all the players in and playing has been fantastic.
All right, and so yeah, how has the early access gone so far? What's been kind of the biggest change that you've been implemented?
Well, the feedback's been really good. We did have some things. We really listened to the community. We wanted to make sure when we went into early access that it was a full game. It wasn't just a small piece that you could start playing and you can kind of imagine what it was going to be, but it had all the components there. You could play it from beginning to end and lots of factions, which meant we got lots of feedback on various parts of the game. And we've already started making changes according to that. One of the big things we got was around the construction system in the game. Before, you would go in to build a district, and you would pick where you wanted to build it, and then you would place the district. And we switched that entirely, which sounds like it might be minor, but it was a big deal for the UI, for the AI and it works, and communicating to the player how those systems work, so that when you go in, you're choosing, listen, I want to build a laboratory. I want to make more science. So I pick that, and then it will say, this is where I want to place it. The nice thing about that was it's more natural to the way the player thinks, because he's thinking more about, I want influence, I want dust, I want science, as well as the fact that now when you say, I want a laboratory, the game can do a much better job of recommending to you and saying, you know what, if you put the laboratory here, these are the bonuses you get, or you could put it over here and you get these different bonuses. So it was able to give the players much more information about the way the system worked. But it was, pretty top-down change to the way that whole flow worked.
And how much of that change, but also changes in general, how much of it was from the players versus coming from you? How much of it was feedback from the players where we thought, oh yeah, no, we went down this direction, but actually we were wrong. They're right. We need to go this way.
Yeah, a lot of it, actually. Even if all the balancing, for example, all the military, the battle, AI, also a lot of feedback are coming from the community, and it's way easier for us to have all this feedback, and then we can act on it, and we can also think, and they propose things. Of course, sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, of course.
Sure.
They propose some crazy things, and we're like, oh no, we're not going to do that thing.
Or they also don't necessarily know the end game vision.
Yeah, also. Also, they don't know everything about the games. We also have some production constraints also.
Yeah, and we went through, like you took us through lots of changes to the way that construction worked to try to improve that system, even through the Insiders program. Like we'd make we hear players are having issues.
Yeah.
Let's try to make these changes and make it better, make it better, until we finally got into early access and we got the feedback and we're just like, you know what, there isn't a UI change that we can do.
Yeah,
there
we
isn't
need
a
to
training
redo
change. Yeah.
So it's been a lot of changes where it's funny because a lot of games when they go out in early access, they only have like Act 1 available.
Yeah.
And then Act 2. You decide to have the entire thing available from the start. So now are you just kind of adding depth to the entire experience over time, over all this early access period?
It really means that we have availability to respond to all the player actions because we weren't fully staffed to add all these missing features. Like we had multiplayer that came in during early access, so that wasn't right at the start. We have custom factions that are coming in that aren't in. But really our schedule was free enough that we could listen to the community. We could say, hey, listen, we weren't planning to do that, but we're getting lots of feedback in that area. So, let's go and take care of it.
Yeah, right. So it's really important to us to have a free time to answer to the community, listen, talk with them, interact, and then do things that they want us to work on, and not just say, oh, we have this feature coming on, we cannot do this or that.
It's a temptation all through development as you get close to early access because there's never enough time to say, you know what, after early access goes out, then we'll add that faction in, then we'll do that. But we'll let the tomorrow guys deal with that. But
you're the tomorrow guys too.
Yeah, and that's what Augustin pushed for. Listen, let's get that all done. Let's get it all in. Let's get it finished so that we do have free staffing to be able to do things like completely go revamp the way that construction works in the game, and things that we hadn't anticipated.
Yeah. So far, what have you changed in early access? I mean, obviously, buildings you mentioned. First patch was into battle.
Yep.
So that changed, balanced all the units, the encirclement mechanic. So a lot of things changed, over time. Did you have a focus with each update?
Yeah, we try to have a big change in all updates. The third update is the biggest one with too many things, maybe, especially multiplayer and a lot of other things. But yeah, for the first one, it was mostly battle because we know we had some weakness and some balancing to do, and encirclement was a great feature to add to answer a lot of issue on balancing and about the fun also of the battles. Although I know players really like the new battle system, and we brought in EL2 compared to EL1. But yeah, it was firstly answering that and a lot of other things, of course.
The designer for battles is also a little crazy, so he's definitely always advocating for it would be a little better if we did this too. And he's usually
and
right.
Everything.
Yeah.
Let's nuke everything and redo everything.
Yeah, multiplayer was a big deal for us to put in. Like I was a little surprised. We first went to early access. Whenever I've done early access before for 4X, I've never had multiplayer as that initial start because we want player to focus on the single player experience. Let's make sure that's right, that's good before we're trying to troubleshoot multiplayer and the single player game at the same time, and then it will come later. But a lot of players really wanted multiplayer. Like we were getting just tons of feedback on it, and so we really wanted to make sure that got in. So we got that out in the December update. Yeah. We had it out for test. Anybody who wanted to get in early and try it out could do that. But for the December update, it went public to everyone, which was great to see, and lots of players coming in. We did a night where we played with anybody in the community that wanted to play multiplayer. We would jump on and we would play a multiplayer game with them, awesome. Which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it was such a hot topic because I play a lot of 4X games. And I very rarely play multiplayer. Yeah. Sometimes, but for the most part, it's a very, single player experience because it is one of those things where you start playing and then 5 hours later, oh my God, I need to go to bed. And you can't necessarily do that, with friends all the time, or you'll just hop on and play a few turns and then, I got to do something else.
Yeah.
So it's harder when you need to organize those, those evenings where you say, all right, guys, we're going to play for 3 hours.
Yeah. It's not a little game you can go in and play for 45 minutes and then be done. Like it's a longer game.
Oh yeah.
I when we played that community game, it was about 2 hours in the game that I played. About like turn 120, like the game was over. Like victory was certain.
Wow.
It was all locked down. It was a really good game, but we got it over in 2 hours.
That's quick.
Yeah, because the community member I was playing with destroyed me.
Oh.
Absolutely lost terror. He was so much better than I was at the game. That it was 2 hours, and it was embarrassing, honestly. But he did a really good job and tore me apart.
It is incredible. We were talking about that for Endless Space 2, how at a certain point, the community knows so much more about the game than its own creators.
I like you putting it that way. That's great. That takes the stress off of me.
Well, and I mean, for games or anything else, for movies, you'll be like movie bloopers where people will confront the director and say, "Did you know that on?" And of course, the director doesn't know or doesn't remember because it was 20 years ago. But fans are diehard. It's moving to be able to reach people and have them be so passionate about something that they know more than you, whose job it is to know about it.
Yeah, it's great. Well, our job is just to make the game, to make the fun experience there, and let the people live in all those details.
Yeah. So update 2 was Clearing Skies. That came out in November, I believe. What was the idea behind that update?
November update.
That was it was a new okay.
You're supposed to remember these things.
I've got the cheat sheet.
Okay.
There was a new main HUD.
Ah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Of course.
The zone of control and the Tahook.
That was something from the community also,
Okay.
saying that the buttons were all over the place on the HUD and missing some information, the science, for example, things like that. And we were a little, are you sure you want the science? And we're talking with also the VIPs and all the community. Are you sure you want the buttons on the left? And our UX, Leo, did a great job, like clearing the sky and making it better. There was, at the same time, we are discussing the new construction menu for December. So it was all on plan, and it was great. We sent it out to the community on amplifiers. We say, oh, this is what we're going to do for the HUD, and they told us, I like that, I don't like that, I like that. And it was easy for us to adjust, and I think, it was really better afterwards.
That was fantastic. Like, not even the place where we just hear the feedback and go and implement a new solution, but we hear the feedback and then we just post concept pieces to the community and got such great feedback. We were looking at something that was a little bit further, and we were going to change the way the city menu looked too. And they're like, no. The city menu is fine. It's here. And so really, it saved us so much time and energy. And the reason why early access is so important and this feedback from the community really does shape the game we end up making.
It's really good that we can have a communication with them also, because sometimes we see comments, I don't like the UI. It's so vague, and we don't.
Yeah.
And so it's good that we can send them something and say, hey, what do you think about that? And they say, this is not exactly what I want.
Have a very specific piece of feedback,
totally.
Actionable, rather than, because we were talking about it earlier, where saying, oh, I love the game, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a very cool comment, but I can't. There's nothing for me to, or I love the music. What do you like about the music? Whereas, not that I encourage people to have negative feedback, but often negative feedback, unless it's just, I don't like this game. It'll be like, oh, I don't like this because that. Think, oh, okay, now that's something that I can work on.
Fortunately, we have a great live team, so we have surveys that come up. We talked a little bit in the last segment about 9,000 surveys during the Insiders program and the demo. We have about 10,000 survey responses through early access. So our live team does a really good job of, if we have any area that I'm not sure what they mean. Like, we hear people saying they don't like UI, you're right, we can't action that, but we'll put some more questions in the survey. Okay, do you like the UI? If you say no, then let's ask, what don't you like there? Our community managers, like Kat that you met, are great, because we can tell them, hey, listen, we're getting lots of feedback about this, but we don't know. Can you go talk to them and put some posts up and see what they think? And it's been great. We always get the feedback that we're looking for.
And it's really quick turnaround. I mean, the game went out in early access in September, and by November you had, as you said, an update that was primarily driven by the community and their feedback.
Yeah.
So it's able to shape the game really quickly. And so in December we had obviously multiplayer.
Yeah,
that was the headliner. So do you know with the data how many games were played with multiplayer versus single player? How big it's become?
Yeah, about 14% of the games are multiplayer games, so it's much larger than I was used to seeing before. I'm usually usually seeing it in the 6 to 8% range. It feels like it's really good. Multiplayer is one of the things from our perspective. Like, I know some players use it, but the bulk of players never touch it. So how much time and effort do you want to put there? But and with Endless Legend 2, we've seen a lot more there. And I think part of that's due to the game, part of that's due to the community, and I think gamers are just changing a little bit where they want to play with their friends.
True. Yep. No, that's very cool. Yeah, it's got to be so strange though, because so much of the the changes also are the importance is on AI and how the AI reacts, and you want to have the best AI possible.
Yeah.
But it's never as good as playing
Yeah.
against a human. You'll get crushed for sure, especially if it's someone you find online. You'll get crushed. If it's with a friend, maybe.
Yeah, you may be a little mad at the AI when it backstabs you
Yeah,
and you thought you
yeah.
had a treaty, but it will never get the burning fire of rage that when your friend does it. It's
No, I remember all the like old RTS games like Age of Empires and all that. We'd all play single player and think, "Oh, I'm so good at this game." Then you jump online, like, whoa, yeah, it's a whole other level. So that was the big thing in December. Anything else that we had? We had
There's a pacification quest also, but we're going to talk more about writing with Jeff afterwards.
Okay.
So
we had the necrophage
necrophage
updates.
updates, yeah, using more corps and making better economy. Was great also.
Game speeds.
Game speed, yeah.
That changed?
That was a big thing for multiplayer also because you
sure.
cannot play 300 turns sometimes or 100 turns for the fast one.
Absolutely. And what's the insults and compliments? Yeah.
plenty of those. We want the diplomacy in the game to feel a little bit more actionable. And there's really two parts of this. The first one is the player needed to be able to push his attitudes with other factions. So by issuing insults, you can lower your attitude with them, which makes it cheaper to be able to wage war and things. Or by compliments, you can raise your attitude with them to make treaties with them easier to do. So that's the one part that's already happened. So players have a little push and pull on the relationship with AI players. And then the second piece that's coming, there's a little spoiler for later, is changing the way that those attitudes are handled with the AI. The AI measures that attitude of the player so that they grow over time or they go down, so they have more of an organic feeling is something that's coming in a later update too. So once you get those two things together, you'll have the AI that starts to I remember what you said about me, and 80 turns ago, and because of that, no, I'm not going to help you against the necrophage. You're going to become worm food.
Okay, that's interesting. It means that things don't just kind of go. I feel like it's some games like that, some 4Xs, you can't really control the attitudes, and you'll be like, I've been trading with you for 100 turns, and you still hate me, or we've had an alliance forever, and you just broke it, or vice versa. So it's good that it's, again, actionable, and that you can have an impact on those relations.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you mentioned someone who I think loves the spotlight, and I see him sulking around the the sets. Our lore master is back. Oh God, breaking everything. Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, no,
I saved you a seat.
but we could talk about what we fixed also. So
Oh yes. Well, let's start with what you fixed instead of broke.
start with my microphone. Okay, great. Story of my life. So Endless Legend 2, from the point of view of everything that's narrative, has been we changed a lot of things. The community is certainly going, yeah, duh. Typically, particularly with the faction quests and the pacification quests, any of the quest content, the way we used to do it was big piece of artwork, block of text, sometimes a literal wall of text, player decision, and then we move on. But one of the things that we initially wanted to do with the whole idea of the faction quest in a 4X game was push more RPG, push more sort of player involvement, push more interest in the factions, or in this case, the characters. So what we ended up deciding 5 or so fateful years ago was to go with dialogue rather than the block of text. It was a big change, and when you make a decision 5 years and early in dev, and then dev goes on and things change and things evolve, and the image you have in your head when you're writing it, you feverishly, 3 years ago, and the way it comes out on the screen, it's not the same. And the community picked up on that, strangely.
They're good at that. picking up on that.
And they're vocal, which we usually like. So what happened was it was pretty clear, and Derek has been very, very helpful in saying, okay, let's look at all the feedback, step back a bit, because I'm like, they didn't like my words, and I get all panicky, and Derek's like, dude, no, it's okay, he's American, he can say dude. If he was French, it would be weird, but, and we can sort of step back and look what we did, look what doesn't work, talk to the team, be a little more objective. and then go through and start applying fixes and changing things. And we don't necessarily want to lose everything we were trying to do with the RPG aspects, but we realized that we had to smooth them down a bit, take off some of the rough corners, that kind of thing. Specifically, the pacification quests changed radically. They used to be, a couple pages of, dialogue when you include the objectives and the choices and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And now it's sort of intro kind of flavor text, 2 maximum, maybe 3 lines of dialogue, and you're done. And that's the whole thing. Huge change. Yeah. Generally, it's been, I think, pretty well received, pretty positively. I think one of the things we heard at the beginning was too many clicks. I have to click too much. I want to play the game. Yeah. I want to get back to my spreadsheets, and you're making me click through dialogue.
Not everyone is there for the story.
It's not like I love the new pacification quest because when you start it, like it gives you that little wall of text, and that wall of text is much more descriptive. You come across a village full of impoverished people. You can see that there's a forge, right? Jeff's writing as much, but never use my writing. But it's good. Actually like descriptive of the scene in front of you, instead of just trusting that the beautiful art, which the art in the game is gorgeous, just the beautiful art will sell that. So now you get more story, more setting, more context, and then you have a little bit of the characters talking, where before it was 7 or 8 back and forth between 2 characters, which were 7 or 8 clicks that you were doing. Yep. And now it's much, in my opinion, more flavorful and more direct. So it's not that the writing is lost, it's just that it's not only characters talking back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was, we've gotten really good feedback about that. That was one of the big things we did. Going through generally tightening the scripts, simplifying things, squeezing them down a bit. And now we have a few other things on the plate that we're looking at, as far as presentation, as far as what happens when the 2 different characters speak, that kind of thing. I don't know if you guys want to add more about this.
So keeping the substance but changing the form, simplifying it.
Yeah, and we've gone through the tone in the game. So there's some characters that when it first went to early access, I would say things that might be some modernisms that have been taken out. So we've gone through like all the quest lines and said, you know what, that doesn't sound quite right, either from, that's kind of a cliche, a modern cliche, let's get that out, let's make it more to the setting, or saying something you feel like, I don't really feel like that character would say that. Like sometimes the necrophage, Prime, the leader of the necrophage, would say something and he would sound a little bit unsure. And you say whatever you want about the necrophage, they're not unsure. Like he is confident and aggressive. Like he should feel everything. Like I know the answer to all these things, and it usually involves putting that in my stomach. He is going to march forward. So those tone changes for all the quests are going into next week's update. So you can play that now. It's out publicly. People want to grab the PTB build, the player test build, but it'll be out next week. So those changes are coming. So lots of writing changes have been happening. Based on player feedback ever since the beginning, and will continue to happen.
Yeah, mentioning the necrophage, another one is the necrophage. Basically, there's a pool of events, and the thing is, unless you're going to write the event for every single faction, which is impossible volume and cost-wise, all the leaders are going to have similar lines. For a lot of the factions, if you're having sort of a diplomatic meeting with something, or meeting a person, or have to explore something, that works. Not with a necrophage. So we've pulled a lot of events just out of the necrophage pool. So they're just players not even going to see them anymore. Because, you go for an event, you go, so someone wants to talk to you, that gets in the way of dinner. So we just took those out. Yeah. So there's a lot of changes like this in not just the words, not just the structure, but the design, the approach, the way it's presented, the content that's presented. Really trying to get back to that sweet spot of, something that's worth appreciating, but it doesn't take too much time.
Yeah, you could have found even beyond the necrophage, you could find a curiosity in the world that would be a surplus of food that you found there. The last lords don't care about food at all. So just like Jeff said, but we did that with them too. That doesn't, they wouldn't care about this thing. Yeah. Pull it out of the pool. Make sure they don't see it. So the events that you see, the quests that you see are more applicable to the faction that you're playing.
Okay. So Derek, you mentioned next week.
Yes.
Tell us about next week's update.
No, go ahead.
Steady tides, right?
Yes, yeah. So there's lots of things that are coming. The big things that we have in next week's update are we've changed the way that the victory conditions worked. Another piece of feedback we got from the community, victory conditions were very direct before. You could win if you had 6 technologies in the last era of the tree. That was one of the ways that you could win. It was very linear, and to balance them, we just had to make them harder and harder to go up that tree, and it wasn't a lot of fun. And the player's way of going for them was pretty much, there's one path to get there. Well, what we decided was more fun is to break everything into 3 overall paths and put multiple objectives on them, so that one of them does require you have to have a couple very advanced technologies, but you need another requirement too. So it's a lot more interesting. Players have a lot more strategy on how they're going to approach each of those. So that's a big change for the victory conditions that are happening in next week's update. Another big one for me, because this doesn't sound big, but it is huge, is we changed the way that Militia works. Prior to next week's update, you had Militia. The amount of free defenders that you got in all your city was an empire resource. So all of your cities had exactly the same ones. From your capital that you founded on turn 1 of the game to that new city that you just built 3 turns ago, which meant when I'm going to attack or I'm going to war, I don't have hard and soft targets to go after. Every target's about equal, so I might as well go after your capital.
Sure.
And with this change, the Militia is dependent per city on the amount of fortifications that city has. So the player has to make more important decisions around, I better build some keeps right here because I'm right next to the necrophage lands, or there's some Garog minor faction villages, and they get a little rowdy when monsoon hits. So I'm going to put a couple keeps down here to build up the walls and have that free Militia that's in place there. Or they can make a decision and say, nope, this is completely in the back of my empire. It's safe. I'm not putting I'm not going to waste any time on fortifications. I'm going to go all science in this city. It's going to be all laboratories, which is a great plan until Tidefall hits. And now suddenly there is an open land that's connecting me with the Last Lords, and they're mad at me for whatever reason. And that I have to very quickly adapt to that. So on the defensive side, it really affects your building strategies. And on the offensive side, it makes my attacks a lot more interesting as I'm kind of checking out my opponent's lands and saying, oh, you don't have any fortifications in that city, buddy. I guess that city's going to be mine soon.
Sounds like you're speaking from experience. What have the Last Lords done to you?
Yeah.
So it's just dependent on fortifications, not like population size or anything?
Nope. It's just on fortifications because we want to make sure the player isn't going to get this for free. He has to make a decision about this. It's not you can just grow it up. We don't want food, which controls population, to suddenly turn into defenses. If you want to go a food city, you'll get lots of population, and that will get lots of yields from it. But you're at risk of being taken over on the military side, where if you go with keeps, then you're not building food, you're not building science, but hey, when the necrophage come knocking, you actually have a wall to stand between you and them.
All right.
Yeah, that's the same crazy battle designer, right? Who's doing this stuff?
Yes.
Right?
Him again.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's not
good.
alone, but yeah.
And what's the update on hero skills?
So in December, we changed. You want to talk about hero skills?
Yeah, I can, yeah. In December, we changed all the attributes worked on equipments. So we wanted all equipments, instead of giving damage or things like that, to change the number of attributes you get on heroes. So it was easier to balance. It was easier also to know that, I need this armor because it's giving me resilience or something else. And we didn't have time to go over all the skills, and we left it unfinished before the holidays. And so now it's completely finished. That crazy designer finished the work. And it's great now. It's all balanced, and it's way better. All the skills are working with the equipment and the resilience and all the attributes. And it's a whole package, and your heroes are more powerful, but also more balanced. And you have to make decisions on which skills you're going to use and all of that. It's with the equipment you have. And I think it's really better and easier to understand also. You don't have to make more choices. Everything you do is really impactful for your hero now.
Okay, very cool. All right, over onto the March update, which has 2 very significant elements, I believe.
Which one of the 2 do you like best?
For me, of course, custom factions.
Yeah.
And I know you agree with that, with that.
So how does that work, custom factions?
it's kind of simple. You just select what you want out of a basket, and then you do like, okay, I want Last Lord with units from a minor faction and with traits from aspect or something like that, and you mix up that, and then you get a new custom faction. It's really, really great. We also have some specific traits, and some crazy traits that we need to finish before the release. So I cannot tell which one are the best and all of that, but it will be really specific to the custom factions that you don't see in game. So it will be very different to play with the custom factions.
And so is it completely customizable? You can make this overpowered faction, or is there maybe a point cost to these different traits?
There is a point cost to them,
Okay.
but we intentionally, we're not trying to super balance them. We want players to have fun. So there's a couple of the traits out there that were like, if they combine this and this and this, it's going to be more powerful than the base factions. But that's okay, because that's fun for them to combine A, B, and C. We try to make sure that the costs are there. We do only give players a certain amount of cost. They can't just pick all of them if they want to. And there's plenty of them that get you some points back if you take them and you have a negative there. You can't build any dust districts with this faction. Like, you could choose that. You get additional points to spend elsewhere, but yeah, you're going to have to work that out.
And for example, in multiplayer, can you activate, have a checkbox saying no custom factions, or?
Yeah, it's planned to have that. Yeah, you can remove those, or you can play as crazy as you want.
Yeah.
I mean, you can play 6 players with on each player have a custom faction, crazy one.
Cool. So more control for the players, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More
we're not a
content.
super competitive game. Like, we're not an esport, so we try to embrace that by saying, "Hey, listen, when you're playing with your friends, we want to just, unless we absolutely can't, we want to just let you play the game you want to play."
And even if you were to play it competitively, you just hit that
Yes.
checkbox.
Yeah, for players
the
that don't want to.
factions
Yeah.
that you
Exactly.
do work on the balancing for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to balance the custom faction. It would take ages.
No.
There's
Oh, you
endless
can't.
possibilities. Yeah, you cannot do it.
Yeah, but okay, this costs 3.2 points because that's what it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Totally.
And tell me, what about what's the endless monsoon?
The Endless Monsoon is at the very end of the game. We wanted to make it feel like the world is falling apart. We wanted to give some kind of arc to the overall gameplay that's happening. So you have some monsoons that are happening as the game goes on. They start, the minor factions get a little rowdy, and at the very end of the game, rather than having you hit the end turn and saying, "Yep, the game's over, the player with the highest score wins," we wanted you to physically see the world is falling apart. There is red water pouring out of the sky. There's red lightning that's catching buildings on fire. It's blowing things up. There's no buildings being caught on fire by lightning. My art team just went,
Yeah.
but we wanted to.
It's not in the
physically
feature
see-
list.
It's not. It doesn't look like the other monsoons. It is very different, and it looks like you are in the end times. Both two changed the rules a little bit and mix things up. We have a unique creature called the Keeper of the Depths that spawns when the endless monsoon starts. He is terrifying. Probably best just to stay away from him, stay out of his way. But he will start causing havoc. And just to tell players that, hey, listen, if you are working toward victory, you better hurry
Now's
up.
the time.
Yeah, now's the time. You better finish this because the world is about to end.
Okay, so it's cool. It's not just kind of a hard stop. It's the game is about to end.
Right.
Time to wrap up your story.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. And so, how much are there a lot of story elements with that, with the monsoon and the keeper?
I mean, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
short answer,
I expected
yes,
as much.
but it's me, so
Yeah.
I have to say a lot more. No, I'm super happy about that. I mean, the whole creative team is, because, we've been for years trying to put a little more story and RPG and stuff into 4X games, and this is like, there's this thing happening in the planet. We can spoil. No, I won't spoil. Anyway, there's a thing going on, and the monsoons happen in the seasons, and the tidefalls, and to me, it just makes sense. I mean, at the end of Legend 1, the world became an ice ball, right? It was working up to that. At the end of this, it just becomes a giant, messy monsoon. But that's where it's been going, and so to me, it's sort of the logical narrative conclusion of what the player has been going through. And I think it wasn't even the writers that came up with it. It was one of the GDs, or was it one
Designer,
of the who said, "Hey," and we said yes. So I think it's really exciting. It really adds a fun final twist to the whole sort of storyline. And like Derek said, I mean, at the end of the game, there's a sort of this big change to the play style, to everything. And I think that makes it really exciting, really interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Huh. Got me intrigued. I thought I knew what happened towards the end, but now you've thrown me for a loop.
Sorry, no, I was going to say it's still in early access.
Yeah,
You never know what's going to happen.
Well, speaking of, we are going to have 1.0 in the near-ish future. I don't know if a relative date has been announced.
Yeah, we said 2026, didn't we?
Yep.
We know 2026 is a nearish future. We're okay with that. So we've got 1.0, a new faction for that that we won't see anything about before 1.0. So that'll be a big surprise.
Right.
Exactly.
I assume different gameplay. I'll try to get a little bit of information for you.
Good luck with that.
So a very different faction apparently. And we've got a few more things. I don't know how much you want to tell us about it or keep it a secret. Things like the anomaly districts or the retaliation mechanic.
Yeah, before we jump into that, do you mind if I just say that we've talked through like these new updates that are coming out, some of the past ones. It's also like really important that with each of these patch updates that we're putting out there, like these are the highlighted features that we talk about, but just tons of bug fixes, balance changes with every one of them, AI improvements. When we put the first version early access out, the AI was winning about 25% of its games. Now it's up to 50%, and it's higher on, sadly, it's higher on normal difficulty and easy difficulty. It's winning like 60, 70%.
Wow.
So we don't want the AI to be winning that much when it wants to have a little bit more of a shot.
And how much of it is because there are a lot of new beginner players jumping into the game versus older veteran players who can't handle the new changes?
You're 100% right. The reason that the AI wins more against normal players on the default difficulty is because they're newer players. The AI is better and harder to beat on the high difficulty levels, but the players that are selecting to play on endless difficulty are the expert players. But what it tells us is we need to make it even harder on those endless difficulty levels, because if you say challenge me, we're going to challenge you. Yeah. And on the normal and easy difficulties, we may need to tune it down a little bit.
Maybe let people lose on their first game but win on the second one once they've gotten the hang of the mechanics.
Yeah. So that's really helpful for us. But yeah, all those changes, writing improvements coming in every build. So each of these, like we talk about these couple things, but if you look at our change logs for each build that they put together, it's massive. It's huge for lots of stuff that's happening.
Well, yeah, we always talk about these. Oh, we've got the endless monsoon, but also we fixed 200 different bugs that we got feedback from the community.
Just little quality of life improvements that are happening all over the place that are really nice to see too, and really important to improving the game. On the two things that you mentioned, you want to talk about one of the two, Retaliation or Anomaly Districts? Which one do you love?
Which was your favorite?
Let's go with that. Yeah, it's another.
Is that the crazy designer?
Yeah. Again.
But
he's doing a great job. I think it's something we need in the game. When we did the battle at first, we say no, we don't need it because we have all of these other aspects, the skills, the hero, all of that comes together. We don't need retaliation. So retaliation is when you attack, you get damage back, and it's easier for balancing. It's easier. So it's not just I go with my big army and I just go and attack, and then after it's done. We added also the zone of control in an update in December, I think, and it was also to get more depth in the combat. So you get 3 armies attacking the same guy, and it's easier for you to attack. And Retaliation is about the same, like how I can get more depth into the army and not just I move my army forward and attack. Can I go on the side? Can I wait for him to go first and come and all of that?
So more strategy.
More strategy, exactly.
Stack of
or
doom.
Tactics, rather.
Yeah, tactics. Tactical.
It's even at the strategy level, because we have players that have the stack of doom mentality. If they make their army big enough, they can kill you without taking any damage, and then they can just keep rolling, and they're impossible to stop. Well, Retaliation prevents that because, you may win. You're stronger than me. You're going to win, but there's going to be some attrition here, and you're deep in my territory now, and you're being worn down. So you're going to have to make some hard choices about maybe I better turn back. So it's really important. The other one is the anomaly districts. Players from the beginning have been asking for, love the anomalies there. I put my city down right beside them. I'm getting the bonuses. They're good at the beginning, but about mid-game, my districts are actually doing much better than them, and we want the players to have a way to upgrade them. So that's going to be coming in a future update as well.
Okay, well, the future is bright.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see everything that you've talked about coming soon, but also all the surprises. Because not only you've got the headliner of a new faction for 1.0, but there are a lot of other things that I'm sure you're keeping quiet. More things that the crazy designer is preparing. Whatever you'll let him do.
Well, it's really the big thing is what is the community looking for, right?
Yeah.
It's responding to them, listening to them, and saying, "All right, cool, we got these things done. Now, what's the thing that's bothering you most? What is it that's making this not the best Fantasy 4X you've ever played? And let's talk about it. And let's see what we can do."
Addressing the problems, but also making sure that each different playstyle has their own faction that works for them. Like, for example, I'm very, economically and science driven, but someone else might not enjoy that and just wants to, fight their way through to victory. You want to make sure that all those different profiles get a good option.
Yeah, one thing we talked about balance changes in each, but one thing we didn't talk about at all is one of the designers, not the crazy one, Julian, made a
They're
change.
all crazy a little, but that's just my point of view.
That's what
game
Prod always
designers.
says. Made a change to the starting districts that each faction has, and I was very skeptical of it. Oh my gosh, you're really going to force players into a certain corner. If I start as the aspects, and I can't build dust districts until era 2, until about turn 40 or 50 before I can get to those. I'm used to, if I want to go dust early on, I can do those kind of things. But he changed the starting progression for all of the factions to make them very specific to what they do. So now when I start a game as the Tahook, and I have that turn 1, I can drop a laboratory. Like, that's a big deal. I can start my science path right from the beginning. And the early feedback we're getting from players is they really love it, and it's worked out really well. So making sure that each of those paths are very different, each faction plays differently, is something that Amplitude's always done very well, and we want to carry forward within this Legend too.
Oh, good. Well, make sure there's so much replayability as well, because you are going to get a completely different experience by playing someone else.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been very interesting, seeing the past, the present, and the future of Endless Legend 2. I'm very excited to see what else you've cooked up for us. Thanks so much, and we are going to continue with Endless Legend 2 with a few more guests who are going to talk a little bit more about co-creation. It's something that's always at the heart of Amplitude games. We've been talking about it since the beginning today.